Howdy folks, Timber Drifter here, on my way home from a job site. Smoking the Stanwell Zebrano with some Eric Stockeby 4th generation 1931 flake. Beautiful stuff. Getting to the point where I don't feel the need to try a lot of different tobaccos. Mostly just ordering what I already know that I like. But I do like to try a few, and occasionally something catches my interest. And I'd actually ordered a couple of tins of this several months ago. I put up a video talking about different blends that I'd ordered to try out, and I didn't show everything that I ordered in that box because I ran out of time. But I'd ordered a couple of tins of this to try, and I just recently got around to opening one. And I knew as soon as I smelled it that I was really going to enjoy it. I'm going down a real steep hill right now with 2 turns on it, known locally as Double Clutch Hill. And when I came up this hill this morning, my back of my vehicle was kicking sideways because it was so slick. But they've done a good job of getting sand on it now. So I got pretty good traction. But I'm still not driving real fast. If anybody gets behind me on this road, I usually just find a spot to pull over and let them around this time of year. Seems like everybody else likes to tailgate my slow poke vehicle. I drive pretty careful in the winter. Anyway, this tobacco, as soon as I opened the tin, folded back the gold leaves of paper and stuck my nose in there, I was greeted with a smell very familiar to me and yet a little bit different. It smells very much like McBaron Navy Flake, and it is indeed made by McBaron. And I think it's probably very similar to their Navy Flake, but if not the same thing. But the tobacco is, at least these flakes in the tin that I opened, are a little bit darker than what I remember Navy Flake being. And also not quite as sweet, and I don't get tongue bite from it. And I definitely get tongue bite from Navy Flake, from McBaron Navy Flake, so there's something different about it. But flavor profile and the odor are very similar. Navy Flake was something that I used to smoke 20 years ago. McBaron Navy Flake. I remember the first couple of tins that I bought of it were the small, kind of oblong, narrow tins, rectangular. Not the square tins like these that it comes in now. And although I carry an Eric Stockeby tobacco pouch, this is the first one of the Eric Stockeby tobaccos that first one of their tinned tobaccos that I've tried. I've been smoking their Evening Flake, which I also really enjoy. But I enjoy this a lot more. This is one of those tobaccos that it's just right for me. And I knew it as soon as I smelled it. Question for you pipe smokers out there, that the ones of you that experience tongue bite, which I certainly do from a lot of different blends, and that's why I'm pretty careful about what I smoke. Can you tell from smelling the tobacco whether it's going to give you tongue bite or not? Let me know in the comments. Ooh, getting a little squirrely on the road here. There's no shoulders on this road. So if you get a little squirrely, you got a pretty darn good chance of hitting a tree if you go off the road. Another reason to drive careful. Have to see how this video looks when I review it. It's actually dark out. I'm driving by my headlights. It's amazing how much light this camera picks up. Stir the ash around a little bit on the top. Break up a little bit of clumps. I packed this pipe by folding the flake in half lengthwise and then in half the other way, and twisted it in lightly into the pipe. It fit in there just fine. And then twisted off the top, rubbed it out a little bit while it was in the pipe. That's how I like to smoke this blend, particularly in this pipe. Pause for a second here. With that kind of packing method, I like to get it where it just smolders. It'll smolder on its own. I don't know if you can see a little bit of smoke coming out of there. I'm not interested in huge plumes of smoke, like how I enjoy Haunted Bookshop. I'm more interested in just very light puffing, just enough to keep the ember going, and just let it smolder. The flavor is very intense that way. Tastes to me like dried figs and black tea. Lake is frozen, of course. A lot of wild rice that grows out on that lake. So yeah, that's what I get from this blend, is dried fig and even date, perhaps, dried date. And black tea, good strong black tea. Maybe a little bit of black pepper here and there. Flakes themselves, like McBaron often does, are just gorgeous, well constructed, and beautiful to gaze upon. Of course, they rub out very well if that's what you'd like to do with them, but with a flake like that, it seems a waste to me to rub that out. I'm not telling you what to do, just what I like to do. And the scent in the tin is much like what I'm tasting when I just let this blend smolder and just lightly puff on it. And yeah, occasionally you have to stir the ash and maybe dump some ash and relight, but that's fine. That's not a problem. Nothing wrong with that. That's one of the wonderful things about a good flake or a plug cut. Or the ropes, slicing the ropes or coin cut. If you don't rub them out very much and pack them lightly in the pipe so that you can move them around a bit when they're in there, and start the pipe with some finer rubbed out bits on the top, you can just get it smoldering. And taste all those oils being released by the heat. What's the tobacco that's under what's burning, as well as the smoke from what's burning. Wonderful contemplative smoke that way. And of course, sometimes I will rub flakes out, rough them out, smoke them that way too. Depends on what I'm doing, but a long drive home necessitates a nice long smoldering smoke, especially when I'm driving slow, looking at things. Pause again through here. So I lived in eastern Pennsylvania when I really got into pipe smoking, and there were several pipe shops I used to go to. I can't even remember the names of the towns around there. A couple of the towns I lived near, one was Allentown, of course, and Bethlehem, or Bethlehem. And there were a couple of pipe shops I used to go to fairly frequently. One of them was a Tinderbox. I remember it was right by a Home Depot, or at least in the same mall as a Home Depot. Ha! Another tight turn on a slick road. This is more than a 90-degree turn. With a big drop off on that side of the road into a bog. Always a fun one to make when the roads are slick. So anyway, I used to go to this Tinderbox. Might have been in Allentown or Whitehall or somewhere around there. 20 plus years ago. And I'd buy a 10 of this, a 10 of that, try something out. It's funny, I never tried any of the Cornell and Deal tobacco back then. And I was already into smoking McClellan Dark Star and Bombay Court at that time. And I think I'm sure I tried some other blends, but I was trying out McBaron blends, and honestly, back then some of them were too strong for me and they always burnt my tongue. I think back then I probably didn't know that you could smoke a pipe without burning your tongue. I guess eventually you learn that, if you stick with it. But I remember I really was attracted to the small square 10s, and Navy Flake sounded interesting. I didn't know what a Navy Flake might be, and I remember asking the tobacconist, and he broke into a very interesting historical discussion of how tobaccos were harvested and stored and shipped and all of that hundreds of years ago. And I thought, well, I'd like to try that. I'd like to try a Navy Flake, so got a 10 of the McBaron Navy Flake and took it home and opened it. And I remember he told me to open it and let it dry out for a couple of days before I smoked any of it. Well, of course I didn't do just dug right in and folded up a flake and stuffed it in a pipe and went at it. And I remember I thought it tasted wonderful, but it burnt the hell out of my tongue, so I didn't touch that one again for a while. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll buy a long stem pipe, and that'll take care of that tongue bite issue. And it kind of did to a degree. So I had this cheap, I think it was made in the Czech Republic. It was like a $12 long stem church warden. And I used to smoke the Navy flake in that. And then I tried it in a clay pipe, and that was good. That was helpful. So I smoked it in a clay for a long time, and every few years I'd buy a 10 of that Navy flake, but I never got to the point where I could smoke it without getting a little bit of tongue bite, if not a lot of tongue bite. So eventually I just quit smoking it, found other tobaccos that didn't bite, that I also liked the flavor of. And I hadn't smoked McBaron Navy Flake in a lot of years, and then a couple of years ago I ordered a 10 of it. And, by now I've learned how to smoke real smooth. So even something like that will give me tongue bite doesn't give me terrible tongue bite. So I tried it. It was good. I smoked several flakes of it, jarred it, tasted how I remember it. And I kept thinking I'd sure like to find something like that doesn't bite. This is it. Eric Stockeby, 4th generation, 1931 flake. Doesn't bite me at all. Fantastic. It even brought out my inner redneck a little bit. When I opened the 10, I think I said something like, "Dang, I like that." Being from where I'm from, that's probably how I would talk if I didn't watch so much damn TV growing up. Well, anyway, Eric Stockeby, 4th generation, 1931 flake. This one is a winner for me. I hope they don't discontinue it or something like that before I can order more. That's happened to me before when I find something. It's happened to me a number of times. Find something I really like and it gets discontinued basically right after I find out about it. All right, folks. Driving through the dark, haunted forests of northeastern Wisconsin. Slowly smoking away on some Danish tobacco. Hey, y'all take care. Get outside.